Hello, everybody. I am Tim Ferencik, the Key Account Manager for Global Rare Disease, and I am the host and member of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Employee Engagement Committee. Today I have, and I am so honored today to introduce our guest, Salim Farah. Today we are discussing Salim's story of his journey to success as an employee working with a disability. I want to also mention that Salim is also the lead for the Chiesi Affinity Network Embracing Disability Americas, and that is spelled disability with small case for dis, and ability is in caps to emphasize the ability, and you'll hear that in Salim's story. So first I'd like to have our guest introduce himself today. Salim?
Thank you, Tim. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with you on this podcast. Though we're based in two different countries, but these days with online videos, the distance is minimized.
Yeah.
So my name is Salim Farah. I am the head of quality assurance and sustainability at Chiesi Canada. I head the Chiesi Affinity Network, as Tim said, Embracing Disability Americas, and I will be talking today about my story, almost from day one up until today.
Very good. And Salim, we spoke at length about what it was like for you to grow up with a disability in Lebanon and your journey to migrate to Canada. So let's start with your childhood. What was your childhood like? You mentioned the early years before you had medical treatment and your expectations you had from that treatment. I think the audience would like to hear about that.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. I am decades old. And I was born with a condition called arthrogryposis. And that is engendered from having the umbilical cord cutting the blood supply to the lower limbs from the hips down. So I was born with dislocated hips, as well as limited ability to bend my knees, and my feet were club feet. So it was impossible for me, even after I reached 3 or 4 years old, to stand up on my own. So I had to make the use of crutches, but also within the house to go from one place to another. If I don't need anybody and my crutches were not there, I would go on my fours, just like my cat at the time.
Yeah.
So my very first surgical procedure to correct some of the limitations that I had was when I was 1 year old, whereby my hips were put back the way they were supposed to be, so in their socket on both sides. So that gave me some movement from within my hips. I don't remember anything about this. All I know is that as part of the procedure, you probably have to have access to a vein, and being only 1 year old, my arm was very small, so they had a very small incision, probably 1 centimeter wide, to access my vein. And today, at my age, you're not going to be able to see it, but you could see that there's a line from here to there that has developed with age.
Stretched, yeah.
So yeah, from 1 centimeter to a good 6 centimeters. So that was the very first surgical procedure I had. So it corrected my hips to a certain extent. The second major procedure was to cut all of the bones that made my feet club feet, and to put both feet on a 90 degrees with the hope that I would be able to stand up on my own. So that was at 13 years old, and that procedure was completed. being only 13 years old, my expectations were, because nobody explained anything to me,
Mm.
they only said that you'll be able to see your feet at a 90-degree angle to your lower leg, to your tibia. And my understanding was that's fine. I'll go through all the pain, and as soon as I'm done and my recovery is complete, I'm gonna be going up and running, not just like standing up,
Yeah.
but running. So my hopes were really very high, only to realize that after recovery, uh, I was able to stand up without the aid of holding onto a wall or to the table or to my crutches. I still remember that very clearly at 14. I was playing Risk with my cousin, and for one reason or another, I just stood up and I was able to stand up without any aid. So I started screaming for my mom to come and have a look. That moment and my very first steps without
Yeah.
crutches is still living in my mind
I can
many
imagine.
years later.
I can imagine.
So though I was disappointed to a certain extent that I won't be able to run, I won't be able to do a lot of things that my cousins and my friends could do, I settled into, you know what, you got to look at life positively and reach out for the sky. And that's what I did from that point on.
Now, I'll just say that for the listeners, I know you were homeschooled until you were finally able to get the surgery, and then you went to public school, and you were lucky enough to have them put an elevator in a school, and I'm sure that was a big feat in Lebanon at the time.
Yes,
So your life did change, not just medically, but you also had a chance to actually go to school with other kids for the first time.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And I was lucky that my dad knew the owner of the school.
Yeah.
And the owner of the school was completely gung-ho about making things accessible for me. And you can imagine that was in the mid 70s.
Yeah.
So accessibility was not a subject that anybody
Right.
had heard about.
And we're going to
But
talk
it did
about
happen.
that. Yeah, we're going to
Yes.
talk about that and how that affected your life. I think it's really important for us in America to hear about your decision to apply for higher education in the U.S. and Canada, and really the circumstances around the day that you were filling out the application. Because back then it was not like it is today with computers and online. And then the ultimate decision to decide to go to school in Canada. I think that's of interest too.
Yes, yes. So after I graduated high school, I joined the American University of Beirut to do a BS in chemistry. And I completed that with an MS in chemistry. And I took some time off. That was in the mid 80s. I took some time off, believe it or not, to do rallies, racing cars,
Yeah, amazing.
for 2 years until one day the Civil War got really bad. And I happened to be teaching at the American University of Beirut as a teaching assistant. And they had given me a small room to stay there because it was on the other side of where I lived. Beirut was divided into two parts, the eastern side and the western side. The eastern side was mainly Christian, and the western side was mainly Muslim. I lived on the Christian side, and I had no choice but to cross between the two borders to go to my university. So that night, when I decided to leave, because every time you cross that demarcation line, it is quite dangerous. Especially that that would be probably something strange for the audience to learn about. The identification card for each and every Lebanese up until today indicates what the religion is. So if I get stopped by a Muslim militia and they will see that I'm Christian, they ask for the ID, and it did happen, you're at a danger at one point or another. So that's why I decided to go to the university and sleep there to do my job. But I've had it with that situation over the years. And one night, the university was bombed. Usually it was spared during the whole Civil War.
Yeah.
The university was bombed, and I was in that small little room that was reserved for me. I decided I had the key to the main office. Though the bombs were raining, I decided to go down and start applying for a PhD program. Really, at the end of the day, I wanted to leave the country. I did not intend on doing a PhD. I intended on getting accepted somewhere and find a job,
Yep.
not do the PhD. But that was my visa out. So I did the applications to universities in France, in the States, as well as in Canada. And I started getting acceptances. Everything was by snail mail. So I would be every day, I would be checking my
Yeah.
mailbox to see what I got. And I was lucky enough to have been accepted in several universities in France, one in Canada, University of Toronto, as well as three universities in the States, in California and Arizona and Florida. So with all these acceptances, I was kind of confused. Which one shall I choose? So I thought I would go to the chairman of the chemistry department because he got his PhD from Harvard.
Mm.
And I went and asked, well, what do you think that I should choose? Because I've got all these acceptances. And he was very categorical. Go to Canada? And I said, why? He said, I've been to all three countries, France, Canada, and the States. So that was in the mid 80s. And Canada accommodates disabilities much more than the other two countries. But
Interesting.
remember, that was back in the mid 80s. I think
Right.
up until today, Canada provides accessibility to the disabled, physically, especially physically disabled, at a very high level when compared to Europe or the US.
Yep. Got it. And I think now that you've finished your education, why don't you walk the audience through the finishing of the PhD, which I know that there's a little bit of information there that's interesting, and then your employment at Apple Pharma for many years, which Chiesi acquired in Canada. And really, if you could end this conversation with how the organization, Apple Pharma at the time, and then Chiesi, has supported your needs around your disability.
Yes. So, in order to finish my PhD, I had to have a thesis written and defend it in front of a committee made up of professors, all PhD in chemistry, and they could ask me any question that comes to their mind. So I completed actually writing the thesis in 3 years. And I thought, okay, so I will apply now to have my defense. To my surprise, I didn't know about this policy from within the University of Toronto. You cannot graduate and you cannot defend your thesis until you stay for 4 years at the university. So I thought, you know what, I've got everything ready. So I went to my supervisor and I asked him, can I double my teaching assistantship help to students? And effectively, I doubled my salary overnight.
Right.
And I was giving private lessons in chemistry. I used to be called the rich student. And I used to have lineups at the dorms of students who were aspiring to become medical doctors,
Right.
but they have no chance but to take organic chemistry, and that was my specialty.
Mm.
So sometimes my record, as a matter of fact, is giving 17 hours of private lessons continuously up
Wow.
until the wee hours of the morning.
Mm.
So that actually prepared me for my professional life. And one day I was at the chemistry department. I saw an ad for a scientist at Apotex or Apple Pharma.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied for it. I got the job. And I stayed there for a good 21 years. I thought
Wow.
I would not for that long. I thought 3-4 years and I'll move on. That did not happen. And if I were to regress, I said I wanted to apply for the PhD to get a visa out of Lebanon during the Civil War. As soon as I got to Canada, I started taking courses. I started doing exams. And I didn't even think about applying for jobs because I finished in 3 years.
Mm.
So my prediction was wrong, and I had no choice. And I thought, you know what? You've invested 3 years of your life, although they won't graduate you. Might as well get a PhD,
Mm.
which I did. So going back to Apotex Apopharma, it just happened that during my 1 year lull as a teaching assistant for 4 days out of 5 per week, I was given an assignment by my supervisor, a paid assignment, to manufacture diferiprone.
Mm.
Diferiprone, as some of you may know, is the active pharmaceutical ingredients for Feriprox, which is
Yes.
today a global product for Chiesi that they acquired from Apopharma. So the fate had it that I would manufacture kilos of the Feriprone, but I had no idea where they were going. And I learned later when I joined Apotex that all of the Deferiprone that I had manufactured went for manufacturing Feriprox tablets in order to support clinical trials
Right.
for thalassemia major. But lo and behold, I know that I didn't manufacture under GMP conditions, not even close to that. But in these days, those were the beginning of the 1990s. I was quite careful. I wasn't told that this was going to go in humans. But to cut a long story short, Feriprox was approved in Europe in 1999, as was launched in January 2000. And the rest is history with
Yep.
approvals in the US, followed by Canada. And it was approved, as a matter of fact, in 62 countries worldwide.
Yeah. Now, you had said along the lines of your experience in Canada from accessibility, you also had talked to me about what the company did for you as well when it came to helping you with the disability. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Um, in Canada, and particularly at Apotex, all what was facilitated for me was the existence of elevators and the existence of a parking spot
Yep.
with my disabled permit to display and not have to walk too far to my office.
Yep.
But that was the extent of it. When I joined Chiesi, things were very different.
Mm.
Not only did I get my spot underground at Chiesi, Canada, the closest spot to the elevator, but also on my trips to Parma and other places, but particularly Parma, which I had visited a few times. I
Yep.
had visited Chiesi because Chiesi was a client of Apotex.
Yep.
Um, I was now on the other side of the fence. Everything was scheduled for me to facilitate my trip. Not only to facilitate the trip to get to the airport, to get off the airport and have somebody wait for me to drive me to the hotel,
Mm.
but also during the conference,
Yeah.
during the meeting. And it was amazing because in some cases, um, somebody was watching me, I think. And I call them the angels on my shoulders. When my body language gave a message that I was either lost or I needed some support or some help, somebody from Chiesi just shows up out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, there was nothing out of pity or out of whatever it is, but the training that they had in spotting
Hmm.
somebody who may be needing guidance. It
Yep.
may not be even disability related. Could
Yep.
be I'm lost. I don't know how to get to the room, etc., etc. They were like so prompt,
Yeah.
and it's. I found it amazing because at the time there was no cans, no embracing disability, nothing really.
Mm.
So that's really in the fabric and the culture of Chiesi.
Mm.
Yes, there's a lot more to do, and we are, as a matter of fact, as part of our work streams that feed into our objectives for the Chiesi Affinity Network Embracing Disability, but we're not starting from zero, far from that.
Yeah. And I think since we're coming to the last couple minutes of this broadcast, um, let's talk about your personal life a little bit. And you had shared with me how your journey has affected your motivation, your career, your drive, and kind of the conversations you've been having with your kids.
Yes. Yes, I had met my wife a good 23 years ago,
Hmm.
and she was in the same field as I, although in molecular biology. Um, we dated for a good 2, 3 years, then we got married, and today we have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, who are the joy of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted really to get married because I didn't like, especially children in Lebanon, just every Sunday when we go out for lunch at restaurants, they're just running around and screaming and this and that. But I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Because as a matter of fact, I even miss now the younger days of my kids, but that's a different stage. They range from 15 to 22 years, 2 years apart, 15, 17,
Yeah.
19, and 22. Out of the very many conversations that we've had, because I have a visible disability, they watch me. They watch me and they watch what I do. They watch how successful I was. I was very lucky. It's a combination of luck, resilience, and perseverance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where disability comes into play. I firmly believe that if I was not disabled, that the impetus that I have to overcome challenges on a regular basis would be there, but it would
Mm-hmm.
not be at the rate that I have today because of my disability.
Yeah.
So I did talk to each and every one of my kids to explain to them that, number one, they've had an easier life from what has been made available to them, versus when it comes to me, has nothing to do with disability, but that they need to really set an objective for themselves to reach out for the best. And I think I have made a good indelible mark on each and every one of them. They're not going to go all in the same direction, that's for sure. But the foundation of perseverance and resilience and overcoming challenges is in each and every one of them.
Yeah. And just for the audience, so what are some just summarizing parting words you'd like the listeners to know about you, your choices, your journey, and working here at Chiesi?
Yes. Well, my disability is part of my story, but it's not the whole story. And I hope that today's conversation reminds you that limitations don't define us. How we move through them and overcome these obstacles does.
Yeah.
Living with a disability means living with complexity, challenges, daily challenges, but also strength, humor. I have no problem whatsoever sharing with anybody my story. And it also, disability means resilience and humanity. So I'm hoping that this podcast made you think, question, or feel that this story has made a certain mark on you. And if that is the case, then we're moving in the right direction. Disability isn't always visible, comfortable, or easy to understand, but it's always real. So you have to accept it. You have to accept it and move forward from it. And it deserves space. It deserves space for discussion, for improvements, for sharing. And I'll tell you, from within my team, my Embracing Disability America's CAN team, it's amazing how quite a few of the members share unsolicited their story, whether that be their story as a disabled person who may have an invisible disability, so you wouldn't guess, or if they're caregivers for somebody who is disabled, or even old. So I really hope that with the support of Chiesi, that our can will make a big difference, and that there's something to learn from with my story.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you. I've learned a lot myself, and especially during our longer discussions and preparing for this podcast. But unfortunately, we can't share it all. So again, once again, thank you, Salim, and thank you to everybody for joining us for the Beneath the Surface podcast.
Thank you, Tim. As you know, every one of us is Chiesi. Everyone is different, and we'll try to make an indelible mark from within the organization.
Absolutely.
Thank you.